Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Gabby Pinkerton. I am both a destination wedding planner for adventurous couples and a Pinterest marketing strategist for wedding pros. If this is the first video you are joining me on, you're in for a treat because today we're talking, this is actually part 2 of 10 tips for growing your wedding photography business in 2021. And if you missed the first 5 tips, head over to Heather's channel, which is linked down below, and we are both on there talking about 5 tips to get you started. Now, these are 5 tips if you are ready to step it up a notch, and specifically to wedding photographers and in fact wedding pros. I really think in general you'll benefit from all of these tips, so stick around. We are going to dive into these next 5 tips, and I'm going to bring Heather Ferris on with me, and we are going to have a nice old chat. I mean, from Pinterest Pro to Pinterest Pro, what could go wrong? Just a bunch of information to overwhelm all of you and to get you going with your business in 2021. All right, stay tuned. All right, if you don't know who Heather is, I want to bring her on right now to tell a little bit more about herself. She is another fellow Pinterest pro, and we met actually on Clubhouse and then connected over Instagram and really felt like both of our audiences would benefit from a joint video. So Heather, welcome. I'm so excited to see you here.
Hey Gabby, so excited to be here on your channel. Small world. We were just talking on mine. So what are the chances? Here we are again. I'm Heather Ferris for anyone that is new to me. I run a Pinterest marketing agency. I mainly help content creators and e-com shops, so this whole thing is totally new for me. So I'm just coming on to help support Gabby, and we're gonna chat all about Pinterest marketing to grow your photography business. So these are the 5 expert tips for photographers. So yeah, why don't we dive in, Gabby?
Oh, I love this. And also, can I just say, this is so great because I definitely specialize in the wedding keywords and wedding market, but when it comes to e-commerce, I'm like a big old question mark. So anybody with a product, reach out to Heather, and you're my go-to for referral. So I think this is great because it's such a collaborative space in the Pinterest world, and we constantly share leads and help each other out. So we're here again. Now you get to see both our faces side to side. If I've sent you over to Heather, you get to see her here now. This is technically tip number 6 if we're going from Heather's channel, which if you missed it, it is linked down in the comments below. You can catch those first 5 tips there. So tip number 6, if you are wanting to grow your wedding photography business on a Pinterest in 2021, you need eye-catching images to stop the scroll. And there's a few things I think both Heather and I can mention about this, but listen, you're a photographer, you have endless amounts of photos, so use that to your advantage. Okay, Heather, like what would make you stop the scroll? We mentioned a little bit about a couple ideas on your video, but what would you say when you are scrolling, what makes you like stop in your tracks?
So when I've never had a real wedding, but I do pin secretly wedding stuff because I've always dreamt of doing like a vow renewal of some sort, and I hope my husband doesn't watch this because I'm secretly planning something. What I'm looking for are details. That's what stops the scroll for me. So really up close shots of tablescapes and flower bouquets and little flower girl dresses because I have 2 daughters. So that's really what makes me stop.
I love that. And I would say, what I always recommend to my Pinterest clients is something that, answers their question or their vision, right? So like they're scrolling and they're like, bam, wow, either it was super colorful, a bouquet, or it was a beautiful wide shot of ceremony space. And part 2 to this, I would say that what we talked about on your channel is text overlay. And while it's not intuitive to our wedding pros because they really want to protect their beautiful imagery, and I'm all for that, I think what you said on, over on your channel for this video is it helps text overlay. So text on top of photos helps the user understand what this photo is going to be about or what they're going to click through to whatever blog post and what that's going to be about. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, 100%. It gives context.
Yeah. So, and I think it's adding extra keywords, right? Like we're adding text for Pinterest to find us with more keywords. So I love that. Okay, so eye-catching images to stop the scroll is number one. Number two, figure out who your niche market is. And this is a big topic of conversation in the wedding industry, because what I have found, this is personally as a wedding planner, I have gone through these phases in my career, and I started where I did weddings for everybody and everyone, every type of wedding under the sun, every type of event. And where I really was able to grow my business is when I started to niche down, meaning I picked a specific style of wedding that I was really good at and that I really enjoyed, and I just doubled down my marketing efforts on that. And that is the only type of content that I showed, and it made me the expert in adventurous festival style weddings. And I think the same is true on Pinterest. If you're trying to target too many types of clients, or if we're thinking strategy, if you're trying to cover too many types of keywords, you are doing yourself a disservice. Would you say that is accurate for, you know, the types of clients you work with too?
Actually, yes, I would agree with that statement, because you're adding the additional layer of like targeting and how to get found. And when you're really, really relevant, like what we talked about on my channel, you're going to do better. And because Pinterest is a search engine, it's not Instagram, and you cannot treat it the same way. So thinking of it from that way and having that mindset from the beginning is really going to help you set the foundation to succeed.
Yeah, I love that. And, you know, specifically wedding photographers, if you are like, oh, I really love all of types of weddings to shoot, that's fine, but perhaps you can niche down on your location. Maybe your keywords become more location based instead of trying to be destination plus social events, corporate events, wedding events, like all of the things. Try to find specifically for the purpose of Pinterest, find something, hone in on it a little more specifically, and I promise it's going to do you wonders on Pinterest. Tip number 3/7, depending on which video you watch first. Number 7 is what we just touched on, location specific keywords. So what we mean by this, and listen, in the wedding industry, I can speak for blogging and I can speak for Pinterest, but location specific keywords is what really helped us attract clients in specific wedding venues that we love and dream of. So even if you haven't worked there before, can you have a board dedicated to that location? Maybe it's a city, maybe it's a country that you've been wanting to work in, or maybe it's as specific as a wedding venue, and you can curate that for your clients and hopefully add content of your own to that when you do work there, but get specific on your location keywords, because that is really what your couples are searching before finding you, right? Like if you think about it, you're a wedding couple, you're engaged, you don't know who you're going to hire for a photographer yet, but you might know what your wedding venue is, or you might know what your city of a choice is going to be. So can you, as a wedding pro, especially a photographer, pop up in these location keywords? Heather, have you played with location keywords at all? Do you have any extra tips to give on like something that's maybe worked really well for some of your clients?
If any of my clients done anything location specific, because they all are digital online content creators or e-com shops selling physical goods online. So I haven't myself played with it, but I have taught and done some research on using Pinterest for local business, and it was kind of around the same thing of using location-based keywords. They do exist, they may be more niche, but in the wedding industry specifically, or even in the photography industry, maybe if you don't do weddings, I see these often.
Yeah, I think you're right though. They're more niche for sure. Like you are narrowing that funnel a little bit more, but at the end of the day, the few that are left in the funnel are going to be higher converting clients than the ones at the very top. So definitely worth a try, right?
Exactly. You have a lot less competition, so
yes,
go for it.
I'm all for that. Tip number 8 is going back kind of what Heather said at the beginning of stuff that she likes, which is focusing on detail and lighting photos. And when we say lighting photos, I don't mean like well lit. I mean, it shouldn't be dark and gloomy, but we're talking about like fairy lights, bistro lights, stuff like just night shots that maybe the starry night, people love that. And I just know this from myself adding content and doing this for other couples. But Heather, your experience as a user and going through Pinterest and seeing these type of detail shots, I mean, that's something that you really like to click on and save to your boards, right?
Exactly. And I am always looking for photography inspiration because I'm just like a hobby photographer. The camera that I'm recording on actually, and I have another one up there, I've taught myself how to shoot in manual, and I do a lot of astrophotography, which is super fun.
Wait, does that like stars? Astro as in stars?
Yeah, astro as in stars. Yeah, so I'm always looking for inspiration for things like that on Pinterest. So,
and honestly, I think sometimes, this is slightly off topic, but really for wedding clients, they go to Pinterest, they want a feeling, right? Not always do they want cold, hard design items. Sometimes they're like, I want pictures that evoke a feeling. So a starry night, like dining under the stars or dining under bistro lights, we know maybe that's not their wedding venue, and maybe that's not exactly the design style they want, but they love the look of that. And if they can find a vendor that can recreate that look for them, there's a high chance they're going to click through to your website and poke around. So definitely thinking of adding photos to Pinterest that evoke a feeling, is really popular for wedding couples. That's the thing with the wedding industry, right? It's an emotional industry. It's not just cold, hard facts. People select their vendors based off of course, their work, but also how did they make you feel? And I say this all the time with my wedding planning business. We plan with all 5 senses in mind. We know that when people walk into a wedding, it's more than just the color of the forks that are going to be important. It's going to be what they see, what they hear, the smell of food, maybe, like there's a lot of things that go into it. So I think about that journey with my Pinterest users and my clients on Pinterest as well. What do I want them to feel when they see one of my photos or when they land on my profile? So if you missed the profile portion of these tips, make sure to check the video on Heather's account, because we really talk about how to optimize your Pinterest profile there, and you can use some of these little tidbits to evoke that feeling over on your profile. Last but not least, number 10/5, however you're following, is think of, this is a little more in depth of what we just talked about, but think of more in-depth detail shots instead of couple shots. Now, let me explain. I have found that photographers sometimes like to do romantic couple shots of a couple holding hands instead of more literally decor, tablescape, or wide shot of ceremony. And the couple shots don't do as well because I feel people can't associate with that person, right? They see a face, they see humans, and it's not always relevant to how they're planning their wedding, unless you're talking about the dress style or the tuck style or something like that. Otherwise, when you're thinking of the user journey, the client's journey, when they're typing in a search term in Pinterest, they're going to think about detail shots or vision of a ceremony, vision of a reception, as opposed to bride and groom holding hands, right? They're not necessarily looking for those types of photos. So if you are trying to dedicate just maybe an hour a week on Pinterest, prioritize detail shots instead of romantic couple shots. And then as you get to know the platform a little bit better and you have more time to dedicate on Pinterest, start adding in a few couple shots, and then take a look at your analytics. Just see what does best. But Heather, have you experienced, would you say as a user, do you stop on couple shots at all? And of course, I know some people do. It's not like they're non-existent, but have you noticed that some do better than others, or in your own browsing?
I do, actually. I really like the detail, like the nitty-gritty little things, like I mentioned earlier, the bouquets or the flower girl dresses, or even the shoes. I'm not a shoe person, but I do like wedding clothes. But I do click on the couple shots or the groom shots because I really want my husband to dress in a tux like that. And I mean, what's better than a sharp dressed man, right?
Yeah, and I think to your point, the style, like wedding style, so dresses, tuxes, jumpsuits, whatever that is a highly searched type of keyword on Pinterest. So if you are adding couple shots, I guess my recommendation for wedding photographers and wedding pros is keyword it based off of their attire, not so much couple holding hand by cliffs, right? Like do schedule it or do keyword it based off of clothing attire. That'll help you just kind of pop up a little bit more in the search results.
Yeah, no, and that goes back to the whole niche concept. So really just figuring out what those niche keywords are. And what I like to teach my audience are parallel keywords. So you have one main keyword that you're targeting. So maybe you're targeting something like blue tuxedo. I don't really know anything about this stuff, but maybe you're targeting like blue tuxedo, but you could also like what is related that someone may be searching for that they didn't know that they were searching for. So that could be like couple photos under the stars or something like that. So like what are those parallel keywords that are related but not exactly?
I love that. Actually, that's really great because I know keyword research is a tough one, but thinking, like Heather said, parallel concepts. And sometimes you might just want to do a brain dump, right? Like don't just let loose, do a brain dump, write all the keywords down and see what's trending, see what's popping up when you're searching those keywords. So, oh, awesome. Heather, thank you so much for joining me. I loved having this conversation with you. And photographers out there, I hope you got a lot out of this video. If you enjoyed this content, feel free to give me a thumbs up. It helps Heather and our channels out a lot. And subscribe to both of us if you haven't done so already. We are constantly putting tips and tricks to help you grow your Pinterest content, and share these videos with friends that you feel could really benefit and grow their Pinterest account in 2021. So thank you so much for joining, Heather, and I will catch you online, probably on Clubhouse or something, right?
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Gabby. We'll see you around.